So good afternoon. Welcome to the Spartans Boxing Show and Sportanarium, sponsored by Round One Boxing in Brighton. I'm Lakey, and I'm joined by Steve. Hello, Steve. You all right?
How you doing? You okay?
Good, mate. And then we've got Mr. Arv Me Too, our regular
Hello there. How are you? You okay?
All good. And then we've got a special guest on the show, Bare Knuckle Boxer, Mr. Smudger Smith. Hello, Mr. Smith. How are you?
Guys, you all right, mate? You all right? Good to see you.
Good. Thanks for
coming. You okay, mate?
Good to see you, Steve.
Excellent.
Hello. How are you doing? You all right, Smudger?
All great, mate. All good.
Brilliant. Privileged for you to come on tonight, Smudger. Really privileged. Give us the time. Really appreciate that.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. Always here. To be honest with you, I'm actually doing a Zoom call tomorrow morning at 11 and one again tomorrow night at 8. So I'm pretty stuck at the moment with, well, not stuck, but got a busy schedule, going down to Stonehenge tomorrow. And then Friday, I've got a camping trip just to get in touch with nature, really, just to chill with the people who appreciate.
Nice.
Excellent.
Way to do it.
Of course, man.
I'm going to start off with quite a straightforward question, which I'm sure you hear all the time. But what sort of made you decide to get into bare knuckle boxing?
Basically, I got lucky. I was fighting in yards against some local lads and decided that I want to start boxing again. And I was kind of teetering on the edge on the idea of wanting to do some sort of bare knuckle boxing, bare knuckle fighting. But I never even knew it was a thing. So 1 minute I'm fighting in yards, and the next minute I'm asking about is this bare knuckle thing even a thing? And then within a few days, I'm getting messages off my pals saying, "Oh yeah, well, you should try this bare knuckle." So it was manifested, really, which is really weird. But now I'm looking back, it seemed like it was more manifested than anything. Like I didn't know it was going to be a thing. And like I say, I'm a casual fan of boxing in the sense of I prefer to be doing it than watching it. And I do watch it, but I just seen it was a thing, and I thought, well, why not? Let's have a go. So yeah, and I've got the right mentality for it because I don't lose my temper. I'm very calm. And Arv will know himself. When you're in that ring, and if you lose your temper, you just start making silly mistakes, and it all goes to shit then. So calmness is key.
What was the catalyst for it to be bare knuckle boxing as opposed to normal boxing? Then because you say you've always been having that preference to box. I'm just interested to understand, what made you go one way versus the other. So
I'd done the amateur stuff as a junior, as a senior. I did it in the army as well, and then I went to jail. From army to jail. Yeah, I've lived a bit of a life, but it was a case of I got out of the army, got out of jail, and I went for my license. And I was talking to Nick Manners and Darren Rhodes, a few ex-pros that you might know of.
Nick Manners, I know very well, and actually, Lakey knows him very well as well.
I do. He's a lovely guy. Talks for England.
Lovely guy.
Talks for England.
Yeah.
Well, he had the fight with Carl Zagan, didn't he? He fought with Carl Zagan, didn't he? And,
that's right. He fought.
Short notice, yeah. So, and I know Rick and I know Colin as well. I know his brothers.
Oh, do you know the brothers as well? Okay.
Yeah, I've trained. I've actually had Colin giving me the rattlesnake at Bermondsofts, where you put your hand inside the bag of balls, and it's 1 to maybe 1,000, and whatever number you get stuck in stomach with a medicine ball that many times. And me being me, I chose 90 odd straight away because it's a show off. So so I got right in my stomach. I left there thinking, wow, I'm never going to eat spaghetti bolognese again. but yeah, I know them guys, and I would try to get my pro license, and I would pissing into the wind. We're getting all over my feet, piss everywhere. I wasn't gonna ever get my pro license because I'd already been done for something. I've been up for GBH, so I kind of knocked it on head after that. When my son was born, I thought, well, if I'm not going to get my pro license, there's no point doing what else. I don't like colour and an amateur, and I wanted to have a go shot at the pros, but because it didn't happen, I quit. Not that I wanted to quit. I just thought, well, there's no point going any further. There's no progression. But then this BKB come up, and I thought, well, you know what? If I can't go that route, and this route's new and it's fresh, it's a new sport out, really. It's reinvented, and I just thought, well, I want to be part of that. you know, if anyone's going to be part of that, it can be me. And I just saw myself up there on the stage, you know, up in ring, fighting and smiling and fighting, and that's all I ever do, smile and fight. So
Smudger,
it's one of those.
I thought somebody would have support you, you know, with the pros. There would have been someone that would have come along with you to the British Boxing Board of Control. Had a word with, you know, and could have helped you that way, you know, rather than, you know what I mean?
I know, but you know what, mate? I don't have regrets, and I'm not so fussed because I'm doing my thing still. I'm still en route to what I'm enjoying. If I'm enjoying it, then there's no bother, there's no regrets. And to be honest with you, there's the tenner penny, and this sounds a bit, maybe, I don't know, shallow saying this, but the tenner penny boxers now with gloves on, they're everywhere. Everyone's a boxer with gloves on. How many boxers do you see getting in the ring without gloves on? Do you know what I mean? And that, to me, I stand out. I can at least say to people, when people ask, what do I do for a living? You know, what's my pastime? I can say, well, I'm a bare knuckle fighter, and their eyes open up and their eyebrows nearly fall off, and I'm like stood there laughing, and I goes, yeah, it's a real thing. And you know, I get new fans all the time from one, being polite and you know, being approachable, and two, you know, giving them the not the idea, but giving the impression about BKB being what it is. I can show them that it's not that, you know, that there is some nice lads doing it, and that we're not all brutes and we're not all thugs and bullies. Because let's be honest with you, the public's view of BKB, I would imagine, at first sight or the first time I heard of it, is that sounds pretty dodgy, pretty illegal. It sounds a bit much like it shouldn't be happening, because it's one of them things that people don't really talk about. It's a bit taboo, really, especially if families are on the dinner table.
I mean, you know, Smug, I know quite a few guys who do the BKB now, and some come out of the pro game and who have gone into BKB. But again, there's a lot of gentlemen in there. There isn't, I wouldn't say there's anybody who's rough who's doing that sport. They're all quite nice guys. So, you know, it's a new sport, and it's a good sport. I couldn't do it myself, but there ain't no sort of thugs doing it. They're all gentlemen, is what I've seen.
You do get the odd one that comes in.
When you first came into it, you I was going to say to you, I noticed when I did the research, you came in as a middleweight to start with, but I looked through quite a bit of other research, and I see a lot of people that you spoke to in various kind of interviews and stuff, and two words really came to mind: focus and discipline. And you managed to get yourself down from middleweight down towards lightweight. How did you manage to do that? So, you know, it must have been.
So, I've got a bit of a thing, me. So I literally, I put a lot of weight on when I stopped boxing at 30. I decided, you know, time's time. I'm a skinny little runt, and I want to be the big man for a change. So I started weight training, and I got to about 14.5 stone, and I actually had a fight against a lad called Darren Snows on the David A undercard for his comeback fight, and I beat him quite easily, actually. And whilst I had the weight on, I realised that, you know, I still had quite a lot of power, and I was still quite quick, so I carried the speed with me when I come up. But then I got into the BKB, and I just stayed at the same weight as I wore at when I got signed. So I was fighting at like 82, 83 kilo against bigger lads, and I go to hospital a lot. I suffer with abscesses, perineal abscess, so I struggle to walk sometimes, struggle to train, and I'll get operations before fights, like 10 days, 11 days before each fight. I was having to go in hospital and get sedated and all this, and then all of a sudden, nice photo I have, lovely. Anyway, so it wasn't until not last year before that I started struggling with my back. I've got spinal stenosis and 2 bulging discs. And it's funny having it. Dazzling photo, mate. Dazzling. It's better than the other photo. So better than the Ram. So what's happened is I've been training through the pain, basically, and I've just decided that to train with the pain is better than not to train and get depressed, because the whole reason I got back into the fighting game realistically was because I was getting depressed. I was getting down. I had no focus in my life. So I got into the boxing. And I come in at the weight I come in, and I just thought, you know what, I'm not bothered, I'll just fight whoever. And then eventually I started taking the weight off, and as I'm taking the weight off, my spine started to have this issue. And I've been fighting with basically a broken back for the past 2 year and a half, about a year and a half now.
Oh, yeah.
So the So last fight ever against Sean George, I've only just announced it. I kept it to myself. I was getting in the bath for 9 hours at a time to sleep through the night, or getting at like 2 in the morning and not getting up till, late into morning, next morning, red hot baths just so I could sleep, or on tramadol every 4 hours. So them things also brought my weight down because, I couldn't do as much. And because I couldn't do as much, I wasn't moving around as much, but I wasn't eating as much. I was drinking Herbalife, and I was on Herbalife boosting tablets, for your immune system, for your energy. And that's how I got down, really, just through pain and illness and discipline.
Yeah, I mean, you must have some real sort of, I don't know, guts behind you, because I saw in your second fight that you had, you had a fight with, was it Chris Trezise?
Chris's eyes,
and you
yeah.
gave
Chris's
away
eyes.
13 pounds as well. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, actually, mate, the story behind that is I was in hospital 10 days before and I couldn't even walk. And I spoke to a couple of the fighters, and I was kind of seeking advice, but, in the end, I just thought, whatever advice I've been given, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and have the fight anyway. So 10 days before the fight, I couldn't walk. I was on pre-gablins and tramadols just for the pain, so I could walk. I got back into the gym about 8 days before, when I could actually walk again. I was underweight because I couldn't put the weight on and I couldn't fight. I couldn't even eat, so I was constipated because of the abscess. And I got into a fight with Chris, and Chris knows the issues. He knows now, and Chris had issues in that fight as well. But I feel being the underdog, the lighter man, the second fight in BKB, the issues with my ass, it was all up against me. But I just wanted to get in there and go. I didn't want to let people down, for one, because I'm not the sort of person that does that. I don't let people down, and I'm just raring to go. So what's the point in saying no? I mean, he still got the best of me that night. He didn't get the best he could have got, but he got the best of me that night, and therefore that was good enough for me.
You took the first 2 rounds, didn't you, apparently? Is that right?
To be fair, mate, I thought it was a very close fight. I think the knockdowns was very questionable. One knockdown wasn't, but I got up and laughed at that. And then, the fight itself.
You got up and laughed at a knockdown. I don't think I'll be doing that.
Did you see the knockdown? Did you see it? He caught
Yeah,
me flush. It was a fucking beauty. But it's actually on TikTok. It's done about 1 million views already. But that was a shot. That was a big shot. And just got up and gave me nose a fucking, the old
straight on the old
nose shot. And he looked at me and he must have thought, fuck's sake, I've just hit him with the biggest shot I could give him, and he just got up and laughed. And then within a minute of that, I was stopped because of a cut on my eye. But cuts are cuts, and we can't stop them sometimes. It's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the injuries and stuff that have affected you, it must have been, I would say, just an opportunity you couldn't have missed. But I read somewhere that your other half said that you were absolutely mad for taking the fight. Is that right?
Yeah, she gets quite annoyed because she knows that every time I fight, I'm not in the best shape. But to be honest with you, once again, who is really ever spot on when the fight? Because if you're training that hard and you really do push yourself to get the win, to get that fitness, that technique, that smoothness, that fluidity, to get all that stuff in training for the end product, everyone goes through some sort of trouble. So when people say, "Oh yeah, but I fought with an injury," I don't want people thinking that I'm trying to get sympathy or empathy or anything. I just know that I train with injuries and I get through one and fight with injuries. And there's many other people out there that deserve just as much credit because they do the same thing. I think the fighter's life is a lonely one. I think we keep lying to ourselves to keep ourselves going, to keep proving to others that we can still do it.
Would you say it's fair to say then, Smudger, that your mental ability supersedes many others out there? Because to go through what you go through and gone through, and prior to many of the fights you had, you constantly injured, but you're still going in and doing it. I mean, massive respect for that. But ultimately, your mind must be so focused and channeled.
Yeah. If I'm gonna put it straight, I'd say this: it's because I've always been doubted by people, and because when you get doubted enough, you decide to start proving them wrong, and that's all I've ever done all my life. Really, I've been doubted by a lot of people. I've never been on the well. I say that in BKB, I've been the favourite to win a few fights, but I think that's just through personality. When people look at your personality and they just know that you've got that great determination, they want to pick you as the winner. But I do get doubted a hell of a lot throughout my whole life. I've always found that there's always someone in my ear saying, "No, you can't do that," or "You won't be able to do that," or there's no way on earth that you're going to achieve what you're saying you're going to achieve. And that's why I've come to where I'm at now, where I've started this new podcast. My first podcast is on Thursday with 2 of the BKB fighters. And then I'm going to be getting on random people. It's not about boxing. It's not about football. It's not, to be honest, I don't like football, but it's not about anything in particular. It's just about life. So if you want to talk about life, and I mean every aspect of life, right down to schooling, down to governments, down to, wars, down to the people that create the wars, down to the people that finance the wars. You want to name about anything you want to talk about, we can talk about it. And that's what the podcast is. And the documentary that I'm doing, that's going to be, that's getting filmed now as we speak. We're going around the estates and we're telling stories of things that have happened in past and present, and stuff that's most likely going to happen in the future as well.
Just going off piece there, Smudger. How does someone get into bare knuckle boxing, and when they do get into it, how are fights decided? Is there a ranking system, or is it just whoever's available for a card that you just get pinged together? Just interested to know, just for the listeners to understand.
Yeah. I think right now it's kind of up in the air. You send details into Jim or Joe, Jim Freeman or Joe Brown. You send some videos in, you give them your details of who you are and what you're about. There's none of this. I fought down in local fucking Hong Song fucking Chinese shop. It's none of that. It's none of this. Oh, I battered 2 or 3 lads in local pub when they tried smashing with a glass. I don't know. It's more of you try, you take your chance and you try. You send a message in, you send your footage in, and it's a bit of a lottery. If they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. You got to understand that it's not just about if you can fight now, you can fight. It's about your personality, because personalities are the things that are pushing this sport forward at the moment. The respect alone shows the sort of sport it is and the sort of people who want involved. But BKB as a whole, I would say right now, fighters are from all over the place. When it comes to matching, they just match the best fights up. They don't look at who's got this many fights in gloves, who's got many fights in MMA. I mean, there is an element of that, but as a generalization, I'd say that if you're fighting, you can prove you can fight, and there's 2 fighters that look like they're going to have a good bang, they'll put you in there. It's all about making the best fights at the right times, not making the best fights at the wrong times later on when both fighters are injured or both fighters are the last, the last 2 fights, last 3 fights. We're not trying to get these fights on late. We're trying to get them on early. So it's all about entertaining the crowds with the fights that they want now, not later.
How often are people fighting? Is it sort of every few months, or is there a card every sort of half a year or whatever? I'm not, obviously not aware of this, so just want to sort of understand.
Well, with lockdown being lockdown as it is, as you can imagine, once again, it's all up in the air. This is a second lockdown show coming up in April, and then there's another one in May, I think. Is it March? No, March. No, it's March actually, end of this month. And there's one in May. So they do try and do them every 2 or 3 months. And when it was regular before COVID struck us, before the political tool of COVID struck us all, we was fighting every 2 or 3 months. So the first year and a half, I think I fought about 6 times. So I was fighting every few months, which was decent. I missed one show. So you can fight quite regular. And I think they're going to start doing more regular shows now. And I've just been on a Zoom call with Nike the other night. All the fighters have been getting Zoom call with Nike, and I think Nike are getting involved now. So the sport's growing. It's going to start growing more exponentially as we move forward from here.
Excellent. Because I noticed when I was looking at your boxing record or your fight record that every fight that you've had's always been at the O2. Is that kind of the consensus of where it's held, or are there other venues, or is it around the world kind of thing?
I think it's now it's starting to branch out a bit more, but because of lockdown, the last show was in a hidden location. Can't say on here because I might get my ass kicked. But well, I won't get my ass kicked, but I'll definitely get my ass chewed. They normally do it at the O2 because the Classic is the home of BKB now, because that's the first prestigious place that really had a show. Okay. There was looking at doing Wembley last year. They were supposed to do in Wembley last year, but with everything that's gone on, that got cancelled, and Wembley would have been like the dream come true for me. I mean, just to fight at Wembley just to fight at the O2 originally was good, but you know yourself, as time goes by, you just want that little bit extra, that little bit more. You want that next level up, don't you? And if you can get the next level up, then why not? So when I first got told I was fighting at the stadium in Wales for my first fight, which then got cancelled and moved to the O2, I was absolutely buzzing because the O2 decided to take it on as a permanent contract with BKB. And then they announced, not last year, year before, once again before the COVID hit, what happened was they started announcing about a possible show in Wembley, and that really got the juices flowing, and I was absolutely buzzing. And then this happened, but I think, like I say, moving forward again, we're going to be going all over. It's going to be a worldwide thing. I can't see it not being worldwide. Look at UFC. I mean, UFC started off without any internet, no real communication between one country to another when it comes to, you know, videos. And now, you know, moving into the 21st century, sorry, we're now moving, we're communicating at the speed of light, and the videos and the sponsorships and stuff are just coming thick and fast for people now. So the sport's going to progress so much better, so much more quickly.
I saw quite a lot of comments about you that in the ring you're described as just simply one word, a lion, but outside the ring you're described quite often as a gentleman. You know, what would you say the main drivers for that are in the ring and outside the ring?
Just to be kind, really. I don't want to be a thug. I'm not an arsehole. I'm not a prick. I give everyone my time of day. I think it's just a case of giving people what they want. You know, they come to see you, they come to watch you, they support you. I mean, even those that don't come and support you, that maybe hate you and want you to lose, you know, I'm happy for them to come down and do that. You know, as long as they're supporting one of us and they're paying for a ticket, then I'm happy. And I give them the time of day as well. You know, even if they shake me out and then walk away and call me a prick, then, you know, whatever floats your boat, I'm happy. That's all there is to it.
That's just the jealous attitude, isn't it? If they're going to call you that, you know you've won by that point anyway.
Yeah, well, if I lose the fight, I'm still winning at. But which I normally do, even if I lose, I've won. I don't go out of the ring and I don't make a big fuss. I mean, there's been a few fights. Well, to be honest with you, all my losses have been controversial, but they've been good losses. I don't have a bad loss on my record. So when I leave the ring and I see the people outside the ring wanting to get a drink or, you know, have just a quick chat, I'm happy to do that with them, for them to just say, that was a good fight, that I'm happy they enjoyed it. If songs have enjoyed it, I'm happy. Even if I've lost, songs they've enjoyed it, I'm happy.
That's a good attitude. I mean, being a fan's favourite isn't an accident, it seems. I heard that after the semi-final of the prize fighter comp that you were in, that you were spotted at the bar in a pair of Cuban shorts, and potential modelling career was being muted at that point.
I like I said, I just don't take myself so serious. I go to the O2 afterwards to the VIP lounge, and I just chill with everyone, do a bit of break dancing, spin on my head a few times, just have a laugh, because, well, that's what we're there for, innit? What's the point in going down there and crying? Well, if you've lost, so what? Don't let it ruin your night. I've come down there, I've enjoyed myself. I always enjoy myself, even if I lose, I've enjoyed myself. Just to be able to get in there is an honour, because there's a lot of people out there who haven't got the opportunity to do that. So just getting in there and losing is an honour.
Yeah, is it quite a tight-knit community within the fighters, and does everyone get on well with everyone, or is there a few little bits here and there that are not quite so good?
You get a few. There's a few lads, and, you know, I mean, like, I've had little gripes with people, but I always message them and just say, look, we've had a little bicker, so what? And there is some of the fighters that do it to get the fights, you know. I mean, I wanted to do it so many times, just get on Facebook and say, listen, I'd love to knock you off your pedestal, but I'm just not that man. I just can't do it. I'd just rather just take the fights that are given to me. But the thing with that is you don't really get the fights you really want then. They're harder to come by when you don't do that. And so therefore I most likely won't get my shot at like Jimmy Sweeney. I won't get my shot at, you know, Franco, because I don't really wind them up. I just speak to them like the human beings, and you know, once again, in boxing, that's unheard of. But in BKB, it's not, because once again, like you say, then we are a tight-knit community. We all do know each other quite well. You know, the weigh-ins are very, very snug and tight, and interviews, when we're doing interviews before the fights the night before, everyone's around each other. So it just doesn't pay to be in that sort of headspace to be carrying on with people constantly. There's a few times where they've had a bit of argy-bargy pushing each other over, and it is quite funny to watch. But in the end of the day, they're going to get in that ring. They need to respect each other for fighting and training like they have to get in that ring in the first place. You can't look at the guy opposite you in the ring and go, I don't respect him, because to do that would be to give yourself disrespect, because you've done the same shit to get in that ring as he has. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. He's done the same stuff as you have. He's had to get rid of all the food, the same sort of food you want to eat. He's had to take time away from his kids or his missus or his boyfriend or whatever it is he's got. They've got to give up a certain amount of their comfortable time. So I've got to say to the guy opposite me, whatever happens, we'll have to smile and shake hands at the end and go for a drink.
Well, it's stood you in good stead, because like there's things like culminating in the fact that you were on the front cover of Vogue, which was quite interesting to see. Not many people can say that.
No, it's but the thing with fighters is then some are made to fight, some are made to fight each other before the fight, some are made to say certain things just to get the crowd going and the tickets sold. And I think if you're a good fighter and you've got a good personality, then it should just happen anyway. People shouldn't have to be given some sort of pantomime for you want to go buy a ticket to watch these guys punch each other's heads in after all the training they've done, after giving up all the stuff they've given up. So I think the disrespectful side of it is shit. And it's not something I really like in boxing.
I mean, in boxing, there's Minarv will back me up on this. There's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of playing up to the cameras, trying to
there is
pay-per-view figures and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a meaning behind why they do that a lot of the time. I think a lot of false.
But it teaches our kids it doesn't teach our kids good stuff. I mean, my little boy, he likes boxing whenever I put it on, and I don't want him seeing that, because I don't want him to be that person that thinks that it's cool to be disrespectful. My little boy is the image of me, and I want him to stay the image of me, and I want him to be respectful. I want him to be understanding of other people's feelings. I want him to know that, he can have a disagreement with someone, but he doesn't have to start shouting and raving and swearing, effing and blinding. It's just not needed. So I think the boxing in that light is it can be quite damaging for your children. I mean, I'm quite a big advocate on kids not watching as much TV and not being on computers, much getting outdoors. I take my boy out a lot. We do a lot of walking, hiking, camping. I teach him about the world. I just take him out and do stuff with him. And I think that letting your kids just watch his stuff and telling them it's okay to do that, or not even saying all to him, just to letting them believe that it's okay to do that, I just don't think it's good at all.
No, it's a great attitude to have. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into you as a person, and I know you were quite transparent earlier. You mentioned the fact that you'd been in jail and you served 3.5 years. I mean, obviously, I want to go into all the details as to why you sort of went in there, but I can only imagine it'd been really tough for you as a person. But speaking to you like we have for the last sort of 25 minutes, I mean, you can clearly see your outlook on life. Do you think that's been a big kind of influencer in terms of the way that you are right now? Then what happened to you?
Yeah, it taught me a lot. It taught me patience, for one. You can't do 3+ years in jail without patience. And if you haven't got patience by then you don't be coming back to jail for anything else. I didn't want to go back to jail. When I got out, I decided I didn't want to go back, but I did get myself into a lot of problems just through the fact that I couldn't get work. So I started, I'd been in prison for that long and I'd learned a lot of stuff, criminality, as you do. And I learned how to, do certain things and get money through necessity. But because I'd made that agreement with myself that I'd never go back, I was very cautious. Jail itself, though, I didn't find that hard. It was a routine. I've been in routine for 10 years before in the army, and therefore routine was just routine. I was institutionalized. So I was about as skinny as I am now when I was in, so about 10.5, 11 stone. And people wanted to take advantage of me straight away because I'd never been in jail before. No one knew my name. was this new lad called Smudger. 1 second, someone ringing me. I'll turn this off. Sorry, mate. Just, we're there. Someone ringing me. I'll put it on there. Do not disturb. So, being in jail for the first time, people trying to take advantage of my situation. And I found myself getting into a lot of fights. And eventually I got left alone because, they knew that I was game to fight. And that was that. I think the hardest thing about jail was having a child on the outside. If you've got a child and you're on the inside, it's the hardest thing in the world. But if you haven't, then I'm jealous of you. If you go to jail and you've got a child and you're in a pad with someone who has got a child, then, they can see that hurt. It's horrible. My little girl, I didn't see her for the best part of 2 years. And, being away from your child for a night, 2 nights, even 10 days is hard.
Yeah.
So especially when you are so close to them, and I was so close to my little girl. So yeah, it was that was the hardest punishment. The punishment for me wasn't the time away. The punishment was my girl being pulled away from me. Yeah,
it must have been heartbreaking for you.
Mm.
Was you training while you were in jail, or?
Yeah. Well, I was helping everyone else train, actually. What you find in jail is you do get lads that shouldn't be in there. You do get lads that have just been pulled into the criminal system because, the friends they've enticed them into doing this, that, and other. They've pulled them in to rob a car or something. Or they've punched someone in town who's had a fight, and they've killed someone with one punch, and it happens. And you look at these people and you think, you've gone out into town and you've punched someone and you've lost now your life for like next 5 to 7 years. Normally they get for manslaughter, from death by obviously punching someone. I think it's something like 5 years you get. But what you'll find is when the lads are in jail for something like that, is they do get turned into criminals. So, which is shit, really. If I was to be in charge of the prison system, what I'd say is first timers put them together. Anyone else who's repeat offender, then put them together. But first timers, don't mingle with the rest of the guys that keep doing the same mistakes over and over, because all they're going to do is encourage you. All they're going to do is teach you how to do the stuff they're doing, and they're obviously not doing it very well because they're inside. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there should be a system where they don't put the new guys in because they just learn, and when they get out and they get told they can't have a job even behind the till, when they're not being done for a trust white collar issue whatsoever, what's happening then is that they're being shown the door and they've got no options but to do something illegal that some idiot sold them in jail to do. Given that idea that they can do that. Because what they do is the lads in jail is they put all these photos on the walls in the cells, and these people are telling the story of how they've lived from rags to riches and they've had all these millions of pounds in bank and they're flying around in these brand new Bugattis and whatever. I don't know. They're showing Porsche Lamborghinis in there. They're showing avant-gardes. And all they're doing is renting these cars, but they're having these other people believe that they're living a life of luxury whenever they're on out because they're doing this criminal activity. And you can do that. People can do that, and they do that. But I mean, I don't say you should do that, but people do and can do that. But they're the 1% that get away with it, and it's very hard to get away with whatever you're doing out here.
Yeah, I mean, I know you also mentioned that you were in the army for 10 years. I mean, I did a bit of research on that aspect, and I got you down there. You went to Bosnia, Northern Ireland, Kosovo, Germany, and even Iraq. I mean, what a journey you've had in your life. I mean, crazy.
Yeah, that's why they've asked to do this documentary now. We're going to be talking about getting the foot kicked out of me as a kid, and I don't mean that lightly neither. From me and my little sisters and my brother. I was the one that took all the flack, and I think it was because my mother could see that I could take the hidings. Don't know how that works, but it made me a stronger person. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but at the same time, I just feel it's a lesson learned. That no one's ever given me an hiding like my mother did. So, you know what I mean? I'm happy with that. If you Jimmy Sweeney can give me a beating like my mother can, then fair play to him. But I don't think he can. And then talking about growing up as a young adult, as a teenage boy, and then joining up the army, going jail, coming out doing criminal activities, and then helping people whenever they needed it. If I've had money in my pocket, I've always put my hand in my pocket and helped others out. I just think it's the right thing to do. So we're on this journey now of doing this documentary, and we're going to be talking about, what made a bare knuckle fighter, I suppose.
Yeah.
So.
Because you're also a big advocate for PTSD as well, and you can really see the caring side of you, where you push that aspect and try to educate people on it.
Yeah, well, I didn't really realise that I do suffer with it until recently. I do suffer with PTSD massively. I didn't really realise until literally the last month or so. I've been suffering so bad to the point where I was very suicidal. And I don't mind saying it on camera because I think there's too many people, one, don't speak about it, and two, they say that they've got it and they haven't. A lot of people say that it's like they're looking for some sort of sympathy from someone, and people jump on these labels and tags now. People jump on these boxes. They want to be part of that so they can get some sort of sympathy or just to be part of something, just to be able to be put in that box. Well, I don't know why people do it, but there's a lot of lads out there that suffer with PTSD and depression, and they don't want to come forward because they don't want to be seen as like these other people who want to state they've got it and they aren't. I mean, I've heard some people tell me they've got PTSD and depression before, and I know it's hard to see, and I know, like, even looking at me, you would maybe not think that I'd ever been that low. I mean, I literally wrote a suicide letter about a week ago because I was that low, but then I read it back the next day and thought to myself, there's no way on earth I can get that low again. There's no way on earth I can get that low again. So I keep that letter on my phone now, and I'll read it whenever I'm feeling down. I think, well, there's only one way, and that's up. So, it is a big thing for me because I do see there's a lot of people that say they've got it and haven't, and I see that it takes effect on those that do have it, which I think is disgusting.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, would you say it's fair to say that, credit where credit's due, your life clearly has been a roller coaster, but the things that you've done, the things you've seen and been involved with, I mean, got to pat you on the back for that, really, Smudger. And your outlook and your attitude is amazing. Massive respect for that.
Well, once again, I see it as this: if I'm still here and kicking, and I'm suffering with the same stuff, then why not help others around me that are suffering as well? And right now, I'm starting to make meditation packs for people at home, self-help packs, self-love packs, stuff you can put in. It's like you can do like a bath pack where you've got all your petals, your salts, your crystals. You get given a type of music you need to put on YouTube. Turn your TVs off for the day. Turn your music off for the day, the pop music, the rock music, all the normal common music. Get some nice relaxing meditative music on. I've got some RSO oil to put in these packs, or they can take some normal CBD oils. And I'm going to start distributing these packs for people at home, because right now with the lockdowns, I think suicide's up like 200%. And where are all the advocates now for suicides? Where are all the advocates for depression? I'd say where they all are. They're all at home, not interested. I rang the church up on Sunday. And they asked to speak to Father Andrew, my local father. And I said, why aren't the churches open in the time of need right now? And he said, oh, we are open from Monday to Thursday for food banks. I went, so what about prayer? What about people that need to repent? What about people that need to believe in something? What about people that are struggling right now? And he went, well, we're just following COVID guidelines with the scientists. I went, science belief is not religious belief. And you should not be taking what they're saying as gospel. You are a man of God, and you should be helping people with God. So I said, can I speak to you about God for 5 minutes? And he said, no. I said, can I speak to you about God for 5 minutes? He said, no. I went, why not? And he put the phone down on me.
Wow.
This is the world we're living in right now, guys, where religious beliefs and people who have beliefs in God, in any God, are getting laughed at. We're getting ridiculed.
Yeah, it just don't mean nothing right now, does this? It's just all about the COVID, anything. You know what I mean, Steve and Roger?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Bad, mate. Listen, I'm telling you now, right? I started meditating and I found you'll know what you'll know what I'm saying when I'm saying this. Yeah. If you start meditating, they should be teaching this to our kids in school. They should be teaching this to our kids from a young age. Should be teaching them from the time they're at Tetra, which is from 0 to 6 year old, when they're learning a thing, when they're all constantly learning, like monkeys, monkey see, monkey do, monkey hear, monkey do. And they're doing this. What they should be teaching our kids is not about equality and diversity with a rainbow, because what a rainbow does is it's a symbol, and that symbol now connected to LGBT. And what happens there is what our kids will automatically see that symbol. And we know symbols. That's the first thing we know as human beings. We don't know about words. we don't know about anything else but symbols, because us as human beings only recognize symbols in the first place. So when they're putting a symbol, which is meant to be an innocent thing of a rainbow, and they're putting equality and diversity, means in a broad stroke of a brush, LGBT. Then when them kids see a rainbow somewhere else or them colours, they automatically think LGBT, and it's being forced upon our kids. Now, I'm not saying that being gay is not normal and natural, because if you have that feeling, you have that feeling, but please don't push that shit on my kids. Please don't push that on our kids, because the more people that do this, the more people that turn that way, causes more issues in the future, because one, you're not procreating, so you're not having grandchildren, and it's splitting families up, which is what they're trying to do. They're trying to split families up right now. I'm getting messages on my messenger daily from these sites for cam girls, yeah? And I put it on Facebook, and everyone's saying I'm getting them, and my missus thinks that I'm on these sites because they've seen my messenger, and they're like suspicious. What they're doing during lockdown is they're trying to split families up, and people aren't seeing this. You go on your messenger now and look at your spam or your request folder, and I promise you now, look on it right now. My mate said to me the other day, Smudge, my mum saw my dad with this and thought that he'd been up to something. I went, well, show her my message on Facebook and show her that everyone's getting the same thing, and we're getting attacked from the inside out.
We've got nothing better to do with their time. I mean, I think we all get it a little bit on Twitter, like these sort of bot counts that just try and sort of send you these messages and whatnot, and you just delete them and stuff. But I was going to say, Smudger, on the kind of mental health aspect and stuff, which obviously you're looking like you're going to be advocating a lot. What does the BKB side of things do towards that? Like, is there an actual official body that supports, or?
I think for BKB, it's just the individual fighters. If they're an advocate of whatever they're an advocate of, then they just let them run with it. I mean, I'm an advocate for most things, you know, especially guys that get out of the army. I mean, PTSD is not just restricted to people being in the army. You know, PTSD, you know, is restricted to everybody. But not only restricted to everybody, but it's restricted to those that really have got it, not those that are just saying they've got it. And it's easy. It's so easy just to paint yourself again with that brush. But I think you should maybe be mindful of those that really are struggling. And if you're not struggling that much, and if you really have got PTSD and you're not struggling that much, then for God's sake, let someone who is struggling have that help.
Mm.
You know, because I've been depressed. I've been depressed at times where I've been feeling down, but I thought, you know what? It's just a little ebb. Just feel a bit shit. And there's been times where
does the actual board itself, Smudger, give support though to any of the fighters and stuff?
I think that in a roundabout way, yeah. If they needed help, they'd be there for them. But I think the fighters, they're all quite strong characters, and I don't think any of them struggle themselves. But I think they do have their own individual things that they like to support. Like, yeah, and they have their own. But I mean, Daniel Lurwell, what a guy! Daniel Lurwell, he was the fighter that was attacked in town down in Wales. Remember, in Swansea, I think it was Swansea or Cardiff. Somebody attacked him dressed as a transvestite, going up to a party. He was on the news years ago anyway. He became a BKB fighter, but he sparked this lad who tried bullying him because he was dressed as a transvestite. And he's a big advocate because I think it's his son and maybe his nephew suffer with autism. Now, I personally know that, or researched, and I know that obviously vaccines are a massive contributor to this. But not only I don't know if you know this, but not only do they contribute towards autism as a whole, but you know that every time a kid gets vaccinated, you, me, anyone, we have an element of autism, because that aluminium, what they call particulate that gets into your brain, causes neural links to be severed. And what happens there is, our faces pull thousands of expressions, and I mean thousands, and the tones that we can use in our voice. We've got a wide range of tones, haven't we? Because we've got a wide range of vibrations we can use with our voices. So if you think of this, if we can't tell every single facial expression or tone in voice, then we also have an element of autism. Now, it doesn't get tested because we don't notice that we're autistic, but we are autistic slightly. And it's a big, massive thing for soldiers, because if a soldier is even slightly autistic, when he's in battle, when he's in war, and he sees the enemy cowering, he should really stop and help the enemy, but he don't, because he doesn't see that he's so scared. He doesn't see that same expression as we do. So autism makes for good soldiers, because they'll just kill him.
I didn't know that.
Hey, listen, I can tell you a lot of stuff about the world. Trust me, we can keep going all night.
I was going to say to you, Smudger, injury-wise, have you had many?
So I've never had a broken nose. I've never had a broken hand, which is quite mental, really, because you would imagine I would have had a broken hand by now. But my hands are very solid, and I've never been knocked out. But I've had issues with my back and my ass. So yeah, they're the only injuries I've really had. I've never had injuries anywhere else. It's cuts on my eyes, but cuts, you know, they're just
superficial.
Just there, yeah, super. Yeah, they don't really bother me. I've been cut pretty bad, and blood's blood. I've got what, eight pints of it. I'm sure I can survive with 3 gone. If you can bleed out your eyes for 3 pints of blood, then I'm impressed. So just keep punching. I'm all right.
It's a different philosophy on things, but fair enough. If you think, I could spare 3 pints here, I'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at the worst case scenario, and if that's the worst case scenario, and I've never reached it, then I'm pretty safe.
Got a couple last questions for you. Your last fight was in November 2020 against Sean George, wasn't it? That's right.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Obviously, you haven't fought since then.
No.
So when are we going to see you fighting again? Is it in the plans to do so?
Yeah, I got offered this fight this time round against Toby Binden, who's a debutant. I'm not really keen on fighting a debutant, because I don't think I should be really fighting people on the way in. I think I should be fighting people at the top, especially after the last performance against Sean George on 4 weeks' notice to move and only 2 weeks worth of training. You know, I stuck with him, and he's an animal. Is Sean? He fights nearly every show, and he trains his back off. I mean, he trains harder than I do, but he trains harder now because he's able-bodied, in the sense of I don't think he's got injuries that stop him. However, he does have a hard job and 2 kids to contend with and a lovely missus. So, but in the sense of that fight, I think that I should be fighting top level guys now. The ones at the top, the ones with the belts, or the ones that are coming up for the belts, not the ones that are just coming in. However, I took the fight and decided that I need to give myself a bit of time, and I'm getting my back sorted first. So I'm hoping to be fighting Hubert Gavin for the prize fighter final in March or April. Failing that, maybe June. And if I can get this my back sorted in that time, then that's 100% going to happen. And then after that fight, I'll probably fight one of the champions, I would imagine. So I mean,
and I'm assuming that'll be at the O2 again.
Yeah, the O2's been announced back June with a crowd, which is what we wanted. The crowds back, because the crowds are the things that keeps us motivated as well. I'm wanting to fight one of the top level guys now. I think I think Jimmy Sweeney or Ricardo Franco, or I don't know, maybe Barry Jones, any one of them, because I get overlooked, and I get overlooked because I don't shout and rant and rave, like I said. However, I've been in one bad fight, and that was against the Kazakh. Every other fight I've had has been a great fight, and even when I've lost, it's been a good fight. So if no one's been able to stop me so far in the 3 losses I've had, no one's been able to give me any real major trouble, then I don't see why I shouldn't be a contender for one of the top boys. Yeah, that's my take on the situation.
So obviously, if you fight in March, April, June, one of those dates, I mean, after that, what does that look like for you? Have you got a time frame that's sort of left in the sport in your mind, or how long do you think you're going to carry on for?
I don't want to leave until I get a title, and I think that's a fair thing to say. I didn't get into this sport to just contend. I got into this sport to become a champion, and expect wholeheartedly that I will leave a champion. Be it as it may that I have the prize fighter final win as a prize fighter champion, but then I mean that's a good title to have, because there's not many of them out, and not many people have won a prize fighter. However, British or world is obviously that's the point I need to be at and want to be at. So I think if we get this fight out of the way with the prize fighter, maybe get a British or world title shot, and actually get given a fair chance, and I'll be happy. You know,
how often do you feel that you can fight? Because what's the recovery period after fighting? I mean, what does that look like? Is it more intense than your normal boxing fight naturally?
I'd fight every other week if I could. I really honestly would. Yeah, if it could give me a fight every other week, I'd get in there. I will fight him once every 2 or 3 months anyway, and to boxers with gloves on, that's quite regular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you know yourself, getting 4 fights in a year for a good fight is quite good. So, you know, getting 10 within 2.5 years is brilliant, especially if you just started out as a pro. With the BKB, being able to fight regular is great. And people go on about hands getting broken and stuff, but what you'll find is with boxing, with BKB, is without gloves on, you don't seem to throw your hands as hard. People say they don't, but I mean, you might get the odd shot where you'll throw with full power, and you just think, "Wow, what the fuck?" You won't even think at all. You just throw it. But majority of times, you'll be mindful of the shots you're throwing because, well, it only takes that tap on the elbow, as you'll know, that tap on the elbow with your hands.
I'm gonna say, Smudger, I can understand that the bungee stuff. You'll throw to hit, but you ain't gonna throw all the way through.
Yeah, no, you can't. So with BKB, it's a safer sport. People don't really look at it like that because it's quite brutal and they see the blood and the cuts, and you know they can hear the. I mean, you know yourself when you hear a crack with nothing on your hands, it sounds like a really, really horrid clap, doesn't it? It's horrible. You know, it sounds. You know what I mean? That crack. Sorry about whacking myself. Anyway, what I'm saying is, you know, it sounds so much more harsher, and then all of a sudden, people are coming out of the ring and saying it's not actually that bad. And I'd say why it's not bad because you don't get as much concussions because you don't get punched as many punches in a quick concession. Therefore, it doesn't cause you as much brain damage. Or it doesn't cause much brain damage at all. In fact, I think you'll find that with the BKB compared to the gloved, not as many people have brain injuries. They have superficial injuries. I can live with not being able to wipe my ass when I get older. As long as I remember how to wipe my ass, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? You need a good memory. If you haven't got a good mind when you get older, then you know what was your boxing for if you can't enjoy the memories of it. But the BKB, you can you get punched a few times in the face with out on your hands. They're going to break their hands eventually if they're punching too hard, and then you're going to win. It's quite a tactical game, really. Is BKB.
I'm going to finish up with one last question, Smudger. What does life look like after BKB finishes for you? What's your plans then?
I'd like to do a bit of coaching. I'm actually looking at doing some life coaching as well. You know, people that maybe, like once again, with the depression, helping people with depression and stuff. My mate's just starting a medical centre that fixes people through vibration and frequency. It does a full body scan, and so I'm going to be helping people with his business, going up and doing maybe meditation classes as well. I'm quite keen on doing stuff to help people with their with the self-help stuff. You know, getting them to love themselves again and to get themselves out of that rut that they're falling into. I think that's a great thing, and the podcast will help as well. I think the podcast is going to be a long-term thing because we're going to have a medley of different people on, a bit like probably what you guys do. You know, I mean, it's mostly boxing, I can imagine, but you get a good blend of different characters that know about different things in life. But I'm going to try and stick to people that just, you know, they've had a lot of life experience like myself. You know, they've been around the world, they've been in and out of jail, they've been army, they've had some sort of exotic or mad journey. You know, because I don't think enough people who have had these life lessons are heard. I don't think. I just don't believe that to get enough blend of different characters on some podcasts and to talk, not just talk about one subject. I mean, like Joe Rogan talks about everything. That's one bit I do. I want to be able to get a podcast where I can just get anybody in and talk about anything.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, and I'll be. I'm sure all of us will be interested to start listening to those for definite.
Yeah, and then the meditation packs, mate. I think the meditation packs are going to help a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people. I think they're going to be the new big thing. Really do.
Well, best of luck with that. I mean, I'm just going to finish up with and thank you for being really honest and transparent about your life and just giving some real good insight into you as a person and what you're doing. And best of luck with your next fight. And we'll be looking at that with a vested interest. And yeah, really appreciate it, Smudger.
Right, well, can I just put a little shout out to some people? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
All right, yeah. So obviously, shout out to my missus and my little son, Shea Solis Smith. He's going to be a future sporting icon. I can guarantee you that. I want to say thanks to my team, Golden Team, and to the boys down there, Darius and Porrick, Cosmos and Daryl, and to all my sponsors that always support me and the fighters at BKB. So it's been a pleasure. I've got a new podcast coming out called Smudger's Alternative Views podcast. That's going to be up and on your devices in next week or so, and it'd be great to see you down there, guys. If you want to jump on some time, I can maybe interview you guys. Be good.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you on? Thank you.
Nice one, Smudger. Top man.
Thanks, Smudger. I've been listening very intently. I'll let these guys do the chatting. So I've been quiet, but it's been amazing to hear your story. And
thank you, buddy.
Yeah, I look forward to the podcast. I look forward to listening into that. Yeah, definitely get Mr. Me Too on. He's got some stories, that lad.
Where's the podcast going out from?
So we do our first podcast on Thursday. I've got Scott McHugh who's fighting the British title fight against Liam Neeson, who's just come back to BKB after a long layoff. And then
I thought he was from that movie Taken.
Nah, that's Liam Neeson. We got Liam. We got Leeson. Liam. And then did I say? I might have said the wrong one. I don't know.
You said Leeson.
It doesn't matter, and then we got Nathan Leeson, and then we've got James Kennelly, one of my old opponents. He's fighting against Connor Tierney for a rematch. He's fighting for the world title. So I'm interviewing them on Thursday along with our coach, because we were all at the same coach, Porrick McDonough. Obviously from the Golden Team, as you can see there. And then it should be getting edited over the weekend and out for Monday, Tuesday, possibly Wednesday latest. So if you I've actually started a page called Alternative Views Podcast, Smudger's Alternative View Podcast. Jump on, guys, and have a look. Good things to come.
Brilliant. Look forward to it.
Brilliant.
Definitely be tuning in for that.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
brilliant,
guys.
For coming on. It's been amazing to hear your story. So
anytime, guys, anytime, and it's been a pleasure. I really look forward to. I'm gonna look at some of your other content as well. Actually, I looked at some earlier on and have a look a bit more. So yeah, thank you.
We'll send you some links.
Thank you. Smudger, are you on Facebook? Are you?
I am, mate. I've got my page on there. Dean Smudger Smith BKB.
Do you go on the Sportanarium Facebook page?
I do go on. Yeah, I do go on there, mate. Go on, mate. Sorry.
When this is posted, it will be on there, so you can always go and have a look on there.
I'll give it a share. And I'll actually get a lot of invites to your page now. So
fantastic.
I'll get that on, guys, 100%. But lads, listen, if you want to do a podcast in future, or I'll get you guys on board, get you on mine.
Brilliant.
Nice to have you on.
Brilliant.
I'll set you some questions. All right, guys.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Right, lads. Good night. God bless. Be safe.
God bless. You as well. Top man.
Take care. Bye.